Hi, and welcome back to another episode on Egg Public Voices podcast series. And today I want to talk a bit more about the family office conversation that we had previously, but really drilling down towards the younger generation, the next generation family office members. A key question that often come up is around how do you create your own identity when you're born into this wealth or when you come to know about the wealth around it. A question that deserves a serious thought and consideration because coming into significant amount of wealth does change a lot of your priorities, a lot of your outlook on life, and a lot of your key passions in life as well. It is extremely important for you to then take a step back from it all and view it from the lens of your own personal values. What are your key values that you will never compromise on? And that could be something very different from the family legacy, and that's absolutely fine because it is about defining what is important for you personally. Once you look after yourself and once you know who you are and your values, only then you can start having a meaningful conversation to get an impactful outcome when talking about the broader family legacy piece. And that is absolutely crucial. It's loosely termed around the analogy of using the oxygen mask on an aircraft. Until you don't put it on yourself, you can't help the people around you. So until you don't know the values that you carry and what is important for yourself, it is going to be a difficult task in translating that to the other family members and to set up your own legacy and start creating your own brand behind it. And this is where you should be seeking out guidance from the right experts around you. And that's often not just financial, but also the experts around governance, but also experts around psychology. And this is where EGG works really well because we have got a suite of professionals that will come in and help the clients understand, now that I've come through this piece of wealth that I've never been aware of, or something which I'm aware of, but now it's landed onto me. How do I create a team that is working to make sure that I'm doing the right thing that's protecting me and the future legacy? And this is where we bring in the right industry partners, be it accountants, business advisors, lawyers, and psychologists as well. Because a lot of it comes back towards behavioral economics. How you think that matters, and that will dictate how the wealth grows in the later years as well. Then the question comes back around, what are your responsibilities when you inherit a significant amount of wealth? You inheriting a significant amount of wealth, it's not just about you alone. There's a whole ecosystem behind it. Your family members, business that you hold, the staff in the business, if there's a philanthropic element, all of the charities that benefit from it as well. So there's immense amounts of responsibilities that come through with inheriting significant amount of wealth. And this again comes back to my first point, build up on your value system. You need to know who you are. You need to know where you want to take this wealth into the future. You need to know what's your priorities, what is important, what isn't important, and start working from there. How do you achieve the desired outcome using your value-based system as well? And once again, this is where we sit down with the client and we go, tell us what's important, what are your priorities, where do you want to be in the next 5 years, where do you want to be in the next 10 years, what is the outlook going to be for the family in 20 years, what is the legacy you're trying to build from this whole ecosystem, and then let's start working backwards from there in achieving the right optimal solution. Then the next question I get often asked is, how can the next generation become involved without feeling controlled by the family structure? Once again, having the right team around you, and that is the consistent team around the whole structure. Once you have a family office structure, or even when you're in the ultra high net worth space, you have to remember you're not alone. There's ample support around you, and this is the opportunity to tap into the support system to create a network that is there to deliver the best outcome for you and to ensure that you're comfortable with all of the allocation, investment, governance, psychological. Very, very important that you have a control over all of this different ecosystem. With the younger family members, before inheriting wealth, it's also very important to guide them through an educational journey to help them understand the concept of wealth, which is very different from the concept of money that you're being trained from a younger age. The concept of a family wealth changes the perception on how you view the world, how you view the society, and how you view things around you. That is the more important education piece that lies around it, and that is the journey that we have to take the younger members of the family through the whole process. Quite recently, I spoke to a young investor who is about to inherit quite a significant amount of wealth. There was no connection with the advisors of his parents, and there was no connections, whether it's emotional, there was no connections on the investment level, and his thought process is, I've never been involved in this cycle. No one has ever held my hand and told me, this is what you do with the wealth that you're going to inherit. And what attracted him to the proposition we had was, let's just sit down and talk about what is important for you, what are your key values first, and then let's work backwards from there. How do we then educate you about the investment philosophy framework? How important it is to actually understand understand that it's not just a set amount of asset class. It's about the sub-asset class behind it. It's about the strategy that underpins all of that as well. Really getting a true understanding of it before committing to making any sort of investment decision. Very important. Similar on the structure levels. You may inherit a structure that's no longer beneficial for you. How do you dismantle that? How do you change it? How do you restructure it? And that's going to have significant implications, tax-wise, legal-wise, and this is where having the right team is crucial as well. But this is where the education piece is extremely important and something that's unfortunately overlooked in a lot of cases. It's not just about, here's a suite of investments, off we go, a suite of structures, off we go. No, it has to be a complement to your own value system, your own belief system, and where you really want to take this forward. And this is where that conversation is crucial and important, and something that needs to be actively held at all times. It's not a one-off conversation, but a recurring piece of conversation. And how do younger generations then balance preserving wealth while taking opportunities and risk? Funnily enough, the best piece of advice I can think of over here is look at your parents and your grandparents. Go back to when they were in your age group, when they were starting up all of this. Study that scenario, because often you will carry quite a number of similar traits with your parents and grandparents. That is in your DNA, and you should tap into that and start thinking about how do I view this? How do I understand this? Look at your peers around you. Look at the companies that they run. How do they balance opportunity and risk? It's very, very important to look at how people do it, but that doesn't mean that's your way, but it helps you frame where is your comfort level. And that is the most important when trying to balance between preserving wealth and taking opportunity. What is your comfort level in terms of how much money are you happy to put through a volatile period? How much money are you happy to lose in a bad market scenario or in a bad investment cycle? Say for example, for me personally, if I make 10 investments, I'm very comfortable to know that 7 of it will do well, 2 of it will go really bad, 1 of it will do absolutely nothing. And that's a probability that I've come to terms with in my head as a very efficient structure, and I'll be comfortable to absorb the risk that comes through that. So it's important to sit down and reflect back and go, in your previous investment journey, investment cycle, how much of losses have you been able to absorb before it gets towards a discomfort level that you can't tolerate anymore? Work backwards from there and go, if that's a situation that you replicate across your portfolio, how many drops or how many increases are you able to tolerate before you need to rejig your investment structure? All of this ties back towards the investment philosophy framework, which is why it's important we sit down and build an investment philosophy framework, because that's the framework that's going to guide you towards all of this decision-making process. That's a framework that will guide you towards ensuring that there's a balance between preserving wealth and taking risk and opportunity at the same time. Should the younger family members always join family business or family office? Quite a subjective question again. We have seen a lot of large successful families go down that path. The Ambani family in India is a perfect example, where you got all of the children are in part of the family business and part of the family office ecosystem. That works well because they've got a really, really tight and solid governance structure. And that is the most crucial bit when you're introducing family members into a family business or a family office. If the governance isn't strong, unfortunately, that's going to mean a lot of trouble in the future. So it's good for children to join the family business to preserve the legacy, but the governance have to be absolutely tight in that sense. And what happens when the next generation wants a different lifestyle or vision from their parents? That's a case I'm actually working on right now, where we've got the grandparents and the parents have built quite a significant amount of wealth through property sector across the world. The younger generation is starting to go, that's an old school style. We much prefer going down the path of PE, VC funds, creating our own investment vehicle, investing in not just public assets but also private assets. And that's a very common situation that we face lately. That's absolutely fine again, because the world we live in today is very different from the world we live in 20 years ago, 30 years ago. The world we live in today is not the same as what your grandparents built back in the day or what your parents were building back in the day. The regulation is different. The political scenario is different. The economic, financial scenario is different. The social structure is different. Going back towards the values again, this is why it's crucial for the younger generation to then sit down and think, what do I really want to get out of this? What is my legacy that I want to create for my family from here on? What are my key value system here? And stick by that. As long as you are certain and you're confident with your value system and the legacy you want to build, that should be the way forward for yourself.